Thank you. Thank you. Boy, this will be different from the previous speaker. On September 11th, 2001, I was a firefighter assigned to Rudy Giuliani's Mayor's Office of Emergency Management. Our offices were 7 World Trade Center. On that morning, I was having breakfast in the cafeteria. What I didn't know was that a plane flew over the roof of our building and slammed into the north face of the North Tower. The lights went out in our building, and then they came back up 5 seconds later. I knew we had lost a feeder, electrical feeder. The people at the window who could see the tower jumped up all at once and started running toward me. I grabbed a girl by the shoulders and I said, "What happened?" And she said, "A plane just hit the tower." I went downstairs, went out to my car, took off my tie, put on my mayor's office helmet and jacket and my heavy boots. My job was to go to the incident command post in the lobby of Tower 1. But as all good firefighters are trained, you try and get a size up of 3 sides of the building first. So I went up the exterior stairwell to the plaza level of the complex, and I got a look at 3 sides. But the problem was, it's 100 stories up. Very hard to see what's happening up there. I knew it was bad because things were crashing to the street. Things that are not pretty. Pieces of the building were falling down. I entered the mezzanine level of Tower 1, and I had to go down 1 level to where the incident command post was. And there was an escalator there, so I went down the escalator. And the escalator is important. I'm going to come back to it later on, so remember that. I got down to the lobby of the tower, and it was loaded with firefighters. I heard over the top, I heard someone yell my name, "Timmy!" And I looked over, and it was my best friend, Terry Hatton, the captain of Rescue 1, the most elite firefighting unit in Manhattan. Terry was 6'4". With his helmet and boots, he was 6'8". I ran over to Terry, and he wrapped his big arms around me, and he squeezed me tight to his chest. And he kissed me on the cheek right here. And he said, "I love you, brother. I may never see you again." And I kind of laughed it off because we had done so much stuff together. We had gone to the terrorist attack in Oklahoma City to search for survivors. We had been in Atlanta when the bomb went off at the Olympics. We had been to terrible fires and building collapses in New York City together, and we had survived. I didn't know that Terry would be right. I saw him go in the stairwell. It was the last time I saw my friend. A firefighter ran into the lobby of Tower 1 from Tower 2, and he was yelling, "Another plane just hit the South Tower," and it was the first we heard of it. I was assigned with Chief Donald Burns to go to the South Tower and open up the command post there. As we were running from Tower 1 to Tower 2, underground, I said to the chief, "What do you need me to do?" And he said, "Timmy, there's not much me and you can do." He said, "Do your best and be careful." I said, "Okay, Chief." And he put his hand on my shoulder as we were running, and he said, "You know, we're at war, right?" And we knew, just like all of America and the world knew, at that moment, we were at war. A woman came over as we were running and grabbed me and said, "There are people trapped in the elevator over here." And I said, "Show me." So I followed her. We went over to the elevator, and the hoistway doors were open so you could see into the elevator. But the elevator car had only come down to the top, so all I could see was the people's feet. They were trapped in the elevator. What I didn't know at that time was that elevator had fallen 70 floors because the cable was snapped when the plane came in. So they had just dropped 70 floors. The emergency brakes stopped it, and they were trapped. They were so close to freedom, but they were still trapped. They couldn't get out. The men were trying to pull the car down, but they couldn't. And the reason they were screaming in terror was because the elevator pit right below them was full of jet fuel that was on fire. And they were right above that fire getting cooked. I turned around and told the Port Authority employees that I could find, bring me as many fire extinguishers as you can find. They started bringing the extinguishers. We tried to fight the fire. Hard to put out a jet fuel fire. In my frustration of watching these people get burned in front of me, I turned to my right and my shoulder hit someone, and I turned and looked. It was a firefighter, and I looked up at his face, and it was my friend Mike Lynch, who I'd worked with in Times Square. Mike put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "Timmy, I got it." And what Mike meant by that was that he had the training, the knowledge, the tools, the equipment, and the courage to save those people's lives. He might as well have had angel's wings sprouting out of his back because he was that angel. We heard over the radio that a third plane was coming in to attack us. I left the elevator in Mike's capable hands, and I went to the command post, and I found a phone that worked. I dialed 0, and I said to the operator, I said, "Get me the White House." And she tried. We couldn't get through. I said, "Well, then get me the Pentagon." She said, "The Pentagon's been attacked." It's the first time we knew that it was also under attack. I wound up talking with the New York State Emergency Management Office, and they told us the fighter jets were coming to protect us as fast as they possibly could. The lobby was filling up with people who were injured, bloody, broken, burned. They mistakenly thought that when they got to the lobby out of the stairwell, now remember, they had come down 70, 80 floors. They got to the lobby and they collapsed. So we had a lobby full of people who were injured. And the problem was it was backing up the stairwells. Chief Burns told me, "Timmy, go get the paramedics and get them in here. Let's start getting these people out of here." I left the lobby, I went out to Liberty Street. I saw Mike Lynch, the firefighter from the elevator, and he needed help getting tools off his truck to go save those people. So I started running toward him, but another firefighter got there first, and he waved me off. And I waved back to Mike. It was the last time I saw Mike alive. Mike went back in to save those people. Months later, they found his body with the jaws of life, with the people that were in that elevator. We know for sure that he saved at least one person because she recounts how the firefighter with the red 4 got her out of the elevator and she lived. Mike was a superhero. I found the paramedics on West Street. We gathered the gear and we started running back. We got to about 20 feet from the door of Tower 2 to go back into the lobby when it happened. We heard above us. The building was collapsing. I turned to the paramedics and I said, "Follow me," and we ran next door to the Marriott Hotel, 3 World Trade Center, and we went into the lobby, which was the Tall Ships restaurant. And it was just like this, clear as a bell, and just like that, it was pitch black. The wind picked up, the noise picked up tremendously. We dropped to our knees. I started crawling. I lost the paramedics. Tower 2 fell on top of the Marriott, and now the Marriott Hotel was collapsing on us. I found a column, like this column here, but about 10 times the size, a big steel column. I grabbed onto it. My legs went up in the air. My helmet blew off. And I said, "This is it." And then just as it started, it stopped. The noise stopped. The wind stopped. I later found out the wind where I was 185 miles an hour as the building collapsed. But we lived in that little cocoon. We went one way thinking the door was there, but of course everything had changed now. The door was not there anymore. All it was rubble and steel. And so we went the other way. About 35 of us lived right there in that little cocoon of the Marriott Hotel. 343 New York City firefighters, American heroes. 37 Port Authority police officers, American heroes. The largest loss of life for a law enforcement agency in the history of this country. 23 New York City police officers, 14 of them from their elite emergency services, murdered. American heroes. Out of the 343 firefighters, 100 of them were from special operations, the elite of the fire department, where I used to work. 93 of them, 93 were my friends, including my two best friends, Captain Terry Hatton and Captain Patty Brown. We all know the firefighters and police officers were heroes that day. Mayor Giuliani says it was the worst day of his life and the best day of his life. I agree with that. We know why it was the worst day. But it was the best day because we met the worst of humanity with the best of humanity. The firefighters, the police officers that ran up in those towers. But there were other heroes that day, ordinary people, who were not firefighters or police officers, who became extraordinary heroes. Civilians. Wells Crowther, 24 years old, an equities trader on the 104th floor of the South Tower. He just went to work that day. He also happened to be a volunteer firefighter. Wells Crowther, in those upper floors, saved at least 12 people's lives. And then after he did that, he stayed in, and he winds up being killed. Frank DiMartini and Pablo Ortiz, civilian Port Authority workers, 88th floor of the North Tower. After the plane hit the North Tower, they got their floor evacuated. In fact, Frank sent his own wife down the stairs. But they heard knocking on the 89th floor and people calling for help. So Frank and Pablo chose to go up that stairwell and help those people. And they continued doing that all the way up to the 91st floor, saving people, getting them in the stairwell, sending them down to live. But they stayed up there, saving people's lives. Frank and Pablo gave their lives and saved over 70 people. Flight 93, Jeremy Glick, Mark Bingham, Todd Beamer, and Tom Burnett knew that their plane was hijacked and knew that other planes had been hijacked and that were being used as weapons. So they decided, they hatched a plan to not allow that plane to be flown into Washington in a populated area. They went after the terrorists. They tried to take the plane back, but they said, even if we die, we're going to do it in a field. We're not going to do it where we're killing other people and taking them with us. Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. But you don't have to do things that are that dramatic. Things like that aren't going to happen to everybody. But you can be an extraordinary hero by doing simple things. And I'm going to bring you back to the escalator. when I first went into Tower 1. Hundreds of people were trying to get out and down that escalator to live. To live. And you know what? They weren't pushing each other. They weren't elbowing each other. For every person that was obese or pregnant or injured or disabled, there were 4 or 5 office workers helping them. And that is the truth about humanity, the goodness of humanity. They stood back, they took their time, they helped each other. And we saw example after example after example of that quiet heroism. And that's who we are. Ordinary heroes who became extraordinary heroes. What will you be? You can make that choice today. You can make that choice tomorrow, every day of your life. You can help the people that need help. You can help the old lady across the street. You can help your neighbor. Don't wait till the last minute, the last hour of your life to do it. Do it now. And put that in the forefront of your behavior. Be the hero today. Thank you.